It's time to renew your premise ID. If you have livestock, maybe you're milking 3,000 cows, maybe you've just started a chicken flock in your backyard with 3 birds. It's the law to register your premise if you have livestock with the Wisconsin Livestock Identification Consortium. WLIC manages these premise registrations for the state. If there's an animal disease outbreak, it allows the state to come up with a plan to protect livestock owners. Scott Schneider joins us from LIC Farms. He knows firsthand how detrimental a disease outbreak can be for a commercial flock. He's dealt with the highly pathogenic avian influenza on his farm. Scott has a cage-free egg-laying operation near Lake Mills. He produces about 20,000 dozens of eggs per day. He says consumers also feel the effect of a disease outbreak, starting with the price of eggs in the grocery store.
The egg price is determined an awful lot by supply and demand, and egg pricing is very inelastic. And that means that demand and supply are directly related to each other. So as demand goes up and supply goes down, the price goes up. And so that's exactly what's happened. It was sort of a perfect storm where demand was increasing this past Christmas and even through the new year. That's when HPAI was in full force, and it was knocking out a lot of production around the entire country. And so supply was decreased. And those two factors together added up into some pretty high prices for the eggs in the grocery stores.
If your farm does get hit by high-path avian influenza, if you have to depopulate your birds, the turnaround time that takes.
So there's many different segments of that. The depopulation portion of it takes a certain amount of time. The cleanup, the disinfection, all that is going to take you several weeks, if not months, to get that accomplished. The restocking portion of it, that's where when we have all the situations that have been arising throughout the country that have made replacement stock very hard to come by. And so in my industry, again, it takes 20 weeks for a baby chick to grow to the point where it's ready to start laying eggs. The baby chick comes from a breeder farm, which is probably 20 weeks to plan for getting that baby chick. So it can take, a year, it can take to 18 months before you're going to be restocked completely to where you were prior to getting that HPAI.
Highly pathogenic avian influenza, that's made a pretty strong case to remind people to update their premise IDs. It's the law in Wisconsin, but it still takes a team of people to say, hey, you got to make this update.
Yes, that's right. And it is important to do that because the government needs to know your location. They need to know how to help you when something bad like that were to happen. There's a lot of resources that are available to us as producers, and in order to take advantage of that, the government has to have a tracking system to know where livestock has been moved, where products are located, and what we can do about it to make sure that disease is not spread to any other locations.
You can do this through the Wisconsin Livestock Identification Consortium. They're the gatekeeper of this information, and it's nothing too personal, nothing you couldn't find on Google, right?
That's right. And it's actually the way that we are doing it now is we're doing a lot of it electronically. So it's a simple click on a button through an email that you can get, and it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to submit the information, and it should all be taken care of.
And it's not just people in production agriculture that need to update their premise ID. I mean, we're talking about, veterinarians if they have animals on site. If you're going to show at the fair this summer, give us a sense of all the different people that should be paying attention.
Yeah, especially in my industry, in the poultry industry, the backyard flocks. I had no idea how many of those backyard flocks existed back in 2015 when HPAI was a big deal and we were actually hit with it at our farm. The way the dad cat people went around to find out where the backyard flocks were is that they went to a feed mill to try to get a customer list to see who was buying poultry feed. And there were hundreds within the control zone around our farms at that time in Jefferson County. It was eye-opening for me, too, to see that. We were actually able to see a map of where all the registered premises are for backyard flocks. And there's hundreds and hundreds of those, way more than I ever expected.
So that further underscores the need for a premise ID because your facility could be impacted by someone who's got 2 birds.
Absolutely. That's a huge part of it because all it takes is one little tiny virus and that will infect your entire flock. And once your flock is affected, there's no turning around. It's gone.
And it's more than just birds, too. I mean, the premise ID covers pretty much all livestock.
I didn't even realize that fish are covered under it either. I just found that out here this morning when we were hearing our reports.
Give us a status report on the premise renewal. Has WLIC, has the board, have you been seeing good return on that information?
Yeah, I think the importance that WLIC has placed on getting these premise IDs updated and renewed, those efforts are paying off. I think that it was like our executive director, Julie Sweeney, was saying earlier, how many of those hours of putting in paper forms, she's shaved that down by 86 days now in total terms of work through the WLIC. That's incredible. The propensity for error is kind of going away too. The more electronic we can make things and take the human element out of it as much as possible, those are all things that are pointing in the right direction for the future.
Scott reminds us that the highly pathogenic avian influenza does not discriminate. It's infected poultry, cattle, people, even house cats across the United States. All the more reason he encourages you to get your premise ID registered or renewed with the Wisconsin Livestock Identification Consortium. It's easy to do at WIID.org. The information is confidential, and it's the law. Scott Schneider is an egg producer out of Lake Mills, and he belongs to the WLIC Board of Directors. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.